Alright, so we're in chapter 2 of Shaar Habitachon. In this part of the Sefer, Rabbeinu Bachya is going through 7 conditions that if a being has these 7 conditions, you could have Bitachon in him. You could totally trust in him if he has these 7 conditions. Now, for those of you that aren't going to be here for the end, I'm giving a spoiler alert. The only being that fulfills all 7 conditions is Hashem, is God. There is no other being that fulfills these 7 conditions, in case you were wondering. So we're going to, spoiler, that's a spoiler. He hasn't said who this being is yet, but as you go through each one, you realize that the only being that has these 7 conditions is Hashem. Now we're on for the 4th condition. So we'll go over the first 3. The first 3 is the being has to be merciful and kind. You only trust someone who's merciful and kind. 2, he does not hide from the person. He doesn't help him sometimes and ignore him sometimes. He's always watching over him. Number 3 is he's strong. The being is strong. Right? There's no point of someone who wants to help you, but he doesn't have the ability to help you. It doesn't do anything. So the being has to be strong. Now we're on number 4. The 4th thing. V'haravi is the 4th condition. Shia yodea be'afnei to'elas haboteach alav. He has to know how to benefit the trustee, the person that's trusting. V'lo ye'ala mimenu mashu tov lo b'nister v'nira. That he knows everything which is revealed and which is hidden that would benefit the person, right? It doesn't help if you're doing good to somebody and that doesn't really benefit them at all. The being, meaning Hashem, knows what's good for you and what's not good for you, even the hidden things. What's going to help him out? If he doesn't know all of this, the person trusting can't trust him. He's not gonna be comforted. So what does this mean? It means that Hashem knows everything that we need better than we do. Right? Sometimes we could daven, we could pray for something, and we think it's in our best interest, and it's not, and Hashem doesn't grant it to us. So in that scenario, our prayers, it's really good that our prayers are not answered, because had our prayers been answered, it wouldn't be something to our benefit. It wouldn't be something that would be good for us. So Hashem knows all the hidden things about us and all the revealed things about us, and He does good to us in that way. Because He knows more about us than we know about us. All right? So if a person's prayers aren't answered sometimes, it could be very well that Hashem knows that this thing is not good for you, and that's why He's not answering your prayers. And when we have all these things, that we have a being that has the ability, and he has a lot of, and he's always watching over the person, and he's compassionate, has pity on the person. In that scenario, you could have bitachon in that person. Okay, that's the 4th thing. So the 4th condition is that the being knows what's good for the person more than the person. And the hidden things and the revealed things. What's the 5th condition that you could have bitachon in somebody? Shia misyached behanhagas haboteach alav metchilas haviyaso v'gidulo v'yankuso v'naruso ubachruso v'sisuso v'zignoso atachlis enyano. That this being has done good for the person from his birth, when he was growing up, his youth, when he was a young man, a young person, until he became elderly. Atachlis enyano, to the end of his existence, that this being is constantly looking over the person. Because when a person has confidence, and he sees that Hashem has been watching over him his entire life, since he was a little child, until before he was a child, when he was in the womb, until his old age, then a person could have bitachon in Hashem. When this is all revealed to the person, he should feel secure, and he should rely on Him. When he looks back at his life and he sees all of the extra benefits, all of the benefits, and all of the constant goodness that Hashem has did for him since he was a little child, this will fortify his bitachon in Hashem. I did some research. Right? Hashem has been with us our entire lives. Do you know that we swallow 580 times per day? And that if the epiglottis would just one time not cover the trachea when we swallow, that we would choke? That happens 580 times a day. We blink 15,000 times a day. We breathe about 22,000 times per day. And our heart beats around 100,000 times per day. So I did the math, so I'm 38. So that came out that my heart's beating, bli ayin hara, 1.387 billion times in my life. So you think back that Hashem has been making our hearts, our breath, everything in our bodies, I'm sure there's a million other things going since we were in our mother's wombs. So such a knowledge, when we realize that, should breed a confidence that we could have trust in Hashem, because He's done everything for us until today, since we were little babies. Every part of nature is made for our benefit, is made for human beings, that we should survive and thrive. I probably mentioned this before, but I think it's so cool that at night, when the sun sets, the wavelength given off by the sun is different. It's a red wavelength. Right? So the red wavelength, why is that unique? Because the red wavelength, the way it is, there's cells in the back of the retina that release melatonin. Melatonin make you sleepy. So Hashem made it in the world for our benefit that the sun, even when the sun sets, the special light comes out which makes us sleepy, because it tells us it's time to go to bed. It makes it easier for us to go to bed. That's how Hashem made the world. Every day of our lives, how many times does the sun set in human existence? It's unbelievable. That's why, Derech Agav, the devices, another reason why they're terrible to use at night, or they're terrible to use all the time, but terrible to use at night, very close to you, because the wavelength is a blue wavelength. So that tells the body that, it's daytime, and it suppresses melatonin, so it makes it harder to fall asleep. Okay, that's the fifth thing. Vashishis, the sixth thing, Shia Inyan Abotech Kula Masar Biyado, that whatever is being done is totally in Hashem's hands. V'lo yuchol adam laziko, another person can't harm you. U'l'hoyelav, v'lo can't do anything, even do good for you. V'lo lichos nezik me'elav zulaso, and he can't push off any danger from you, except for Hashem. Right? Hashem is in total control. The only way that someone could do good for you, or someone could harm you, is if Hashem wants him to. That's the only way. Imagine a slave who is trapped in a pit, and the only one who can give him food is his master. Total control over the slave. So too Hashem. Hashem has total control over us. Which means, I'll just finish this line, and when the Baiteach, when, meaning us, when we're in the Rishus of Hashem, totally, it's even more befitting to have Habitachon in Hashem. That means if you're driving home, Chas v'shalom, a drunk driver hits you, the drunk driver, and everyone's fine, ruined the car. The only reason that happened, it's not because of the drunk driver, it's because Hashem wanted that to happen to you. He wanted you to have to repair your car. Now, the drunk driver is going to get punished for what he did. He did a very horrible thing. But why did it hit you? It only hit you because Hashem allowed it to happen. So really, logically, it doesn't make any sense to get mad at the drunk driver, because Hashem wanted that I'm going to have to spend $3,000 to fix my car now. And the drunk driver was this Hashem's messenger. That's how he wanted to send it. So it really isn't illogical to get mad at the drunk driver. All right, Hashem's going to punish him. That's his business. That's between Hashem and him. That's none of my business. But nothing can happen to you, nothing positive, nothing negative, unless Hashem wants it to happen. It's not like there's Hashem in control and there's other people that can interfere. Hashem is totally in control. Okay, let's just finish with the seventh condition. We'll have all seven. Vashvi is the seventh condition. That the one that you trust in, he is totally generous. He does kindness. He does kindness and generosity to those who deserve it and those who don't deserve it. And this generosity is constant. And the kindness continues. And it will never stop. Right? Hashem, He doesn't do good to us because we deserve it. He does good to us because He is generous and He is good and He is kind, and He does things for us even though we've sinned, even though we've done wrong things. Hashem is totally good, and we can have faith in Him even if we're not the biggest tzaddik in the world, even if we're not Rav Elyashiv learning Torah 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day, and we do averos and we do things wrong. Now, obviously, we're going to see that you can't just do like sins all day and do like bad things and hope that Hashem's going to help you out. You have to try to do your best, but a person shouldn't think that, I'm not perfect, Hashem is not going to help me. No, we should try our best, and we should also know that Hashem does good for us even when we don't deserve it. He cites here from the Vilna Gaon, we just said yesterday in Nishmas, it says, Adheina azaruna rachamecha v'lo azavunu chasadecha v'alti tishenu Hashem elokeinu lenetzach. It says, until now Hashem, your mercy has helped us and your kindness has not forsaken us. Meaning that until now Hashem has watched over us because He's kind, not because we deserved it, but because He's kind. And it continues, V'alti tishenu Hashem elokeinu lenetzach, and Hashem will never forsake us. He quotes here that the Vilna Gaon says, why will Hashem never, how can we be confident that Hashem will never forsake us? Since in the past that Hashem's goodness and helping us out has not been because of our good deeds, but rather because of His kindness. So we can be confident that Hashem's watching over us and His goodness will continue because of His kindness. Meaning, even if my deeds aren't perfect, just like in the past Hashem watched over us, so too Hashem will continue to watch over us. So just to conclude, we have 7 conditions that we need, that we can trust on someone, and the only being that fulfills all of these 7 conditions is Hashem. Right? He's merciful and kind. He doesn't hide from us. He's strong. He knows how to benefit us. He's been with us our entire life. No one else can interfere with what Hashem does. And number 7, that He's kind and generous. And with that, we should have a confidence that we should always trust in Hashem. We shouldn't put our faith in ourselves or in other people or in leaders, but rather Hashem. Hashem's the only one we can trust in. Okay. Shaar.